GM, welcome to another Touchgrass podcast episode. Today we have a really unique one. For people who've been following the show for a long time, I'm not the most technical person out there. And, during my birthday post, I put out, a tweet saying that I would try to be a lot more technical. This is probably our first, like, really technical focused episode. And it makes sense for it to be wormhole adjacent because Aussie is probably the only one that can layman explain stuff to me right now. Carter, Ossie, welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks so much for having us.
All right. Let's probably start off with Carter, I want you to introduce yourself to everyone, and then Ossie, you do the same, and then we'll sort of build into what Psy is. We'll sort of build into like this Dogecoin angle, and we'll sort of try to understand it a lot more, both from the technical side and like from a narrative perspective, why it makes sense.
Cool. So maybe I'll hit it off. So I'm Carter Feldman. I'm the founder and CEO of Psy Protocol. I'm also a Dogecoin developer, and I've been in the crypto space for a very, very long time. I was a Bitcoin user in 2013. Starting from then, I was a black hat hacker as a teenager. Been in the security community and love me some Doge, love me some Solana.
Sick, yo. Yeah, and I'm Ossie. I lead up strategy at the Wormhole Foundation. Also a long-time crypto user since about 2015. Tried to use Ethereum back then for a payments protocol back in New Zealand, and it was too slow and too expensive. So I branched out to Stellar at the time and kept a close eye on everything crypto while I made my way in the payments world, and then branched back a few years ago.
Awesome. I think let's start off with like the most easy question, and I'm pretty sure Carter has like a 10-minute talk on this question alone. Carter, start us off. Why Dogecoin?
Sure. So first of all, like Dogecoin is one of the best, most positive communities in crypto. Like everyone loves Dogecoin, and this is a very rare thing for crypto where it's usually very tribal and kind of people who will shill their bags, and people who don't have the coin will just I don't know if we could say it, shit on it all day. I don't know if we can use profanity, but hopefully so. But with Dogecoin, it's just a lot of very positive vibes. A lot of people have made friends within the Dogecoin community, so that's like why I've always been interested in it, because it's a great place to meet non-toxic crypto friends online, which is rare to come these days. And Dogecoin is the original meme coin, so it does make sense what we're doing with Wormhole and bringing Dogecoin over to Solana, the sort of new next generation of meme coins. And then also, at least for me, I'm a big fan of proof of work, even though we love Solana as well. And Dogecoin is a proof of work coin. My own protocol, Psy Protocol, is also a proof of useful work protocol. So we're very heavily involved in the POW community. I'll leave it.
Awesome. And we'll get into like proof of useful work in a minute. I think Carter, sort of backtrack us, and Ossie, you feel free to sort of get in here as well. Where did the idea of Dogecoin to Solana actually come from? Where was the starting point? Was it like a shower thought, Dogecoin should be on Solana, or was it like more, like the community wanted it? Where did the thesis actually start for that?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in here just on Carter's behalf, but I'm pretty sure this would have started around the time that Carter, who's really active, obviously in the Dogecoin community, put forward a proposal for adding an OP check Groth16 verify function to enshrine a proof system into the Dogecoin blockchain. So this kind of comes back to zero knowledge proofs. Getting Dogecoin itself to be able to be kind of more at parity with account-based chains, how that might look. And I think this is kind of how it dovetailed in. I don't know the rationale behind selecting Solana specifically, but maybe it's to do with the verification program and how the guys built the ZK Lite client itself, and maybe Solana's ability to more efficiently verify the script. Proof of work hash of Doge on Solana side, but Carter can fill in.
Maybe I can give a little color there. So we really want to add this zero knowledge proof opcode, which soon will be coming. Finally, it's taken a very long time, but these things do tend to move more slowly in the POW world. But we want to add we wanted to add these zero knowledge proofs to Dogecoin so that you could do more with Dogecoin than just send it to friends, right? Like we love everything Dogecoin, and we want the user experience of Dogecoin to balloon into games and fun things and, interacting with other ecosystems. And as far as, what the zero knowledge proof opcode enabled other than applications on Dogecoin, it also made possible for the first time this sort of idea of being able to bridge Dogecoin trustlessly to other chains. And for us, it was like super obvious that the chain that made the most sense was Solana, because like that it's sort of like the meme coin torchbearer, right? We laid the groundwork with Doge, and the next generation of memes have all been deployed on Solana. So it just made total sense. And the Solana Foundation was super supportive, loved the idea. And it was just a match made in heaven. So that's why we picked Solana.
That makes a lot of sense. And Ossie, just for everyone's context, do you want to talk about why sort of we needed added infrastructure to make that possible, and why Wormhole's native token transfer, we need like a step up, and this collaboration was possible? You want to talk about why it's necessary to have this sort of architecture for this collaboration?
100%. So obviously, when we heard about what the guys were doing with Dogecoin, built a great ZK-like client over there, generating a portable proof that's also able to be paired with a Solana verification program. That is very Solana, and we thought it was fantastic, really, really cool, of course. And we were stoked that the guys approached us with this. So there's a couple of considerations for the return path when you're looking at going back from Solana to Dogecoin, because Dogecoin doesn't have this opcode just yet that Carter and the guys have been working, a ton on, obviously, which is fantastic for the Doge community. As this isn't in there just yet, the Dogecoin chain is currently a little bit restricted in what kind of signatures it can verify. So for us, we were able to align with a scheme that we have been building, a threshold signature scheme, which allows you to verify one ECDSA signature rather than having to verify a full quorum of 13 ECDSA signatures, which would be slow and inefficient. And additionally, that also introduces the ability for Wormhole Guardian Security to both custody the Dogecoin on the Dogecoin side and also provide the release signature for coming back from Solana in a really efficient way. And so it's sort of double-barreled. You get the sort of, institutional grade security that's like trusted by the biggest fund managers in the world to move, billions and tens and hundreds of billions of dollars and secure so much across different chains every day. And you get to bring that security to the users who are using the bidirectional Dogecoin Solana bridge. And it's a great step in between Dogecoin being able to verify ZK proofs and making these more portable, being able to custody these coins. So I think those are some of the considerations that we looked at from our side, and it being a sort of match to bring this to the wider community.
Got it. And then Carter, does proof of useful work? I think this is probably the best place to introduce the concept. How does that fit into everything that Ossie just mentioned right now?
For sure. I mean, well, I guess the Wormhole Guardians are certainly doing useful work and certainly getting paid for it. So I would say that is a form of proof of useful work. But for Psy, which is our zero knowledge proof protocol, which also sits between Solana and Dogecoin, and we were very excited to integrate with Wormhole as well as in the future, is more of like a new way of aggregating work and performing consensus on proof of work blockchains, where rather than having miners sort of like compete at each other or against each other in like a zero-sum game to try to guess a secret hash or solve a math problem, as it's sometimes put. Instead, what they're doing is they're working together to build the block for the users. So the more miners you have, the more users and more capacity that the blockchain can hold, and the better the user experience is. So that's what we do. And specifically on Psy, it's miners taking 2 zero knowledge proofs and compressing it into one. The useful work there just being making it easier to verify the chain. But yeah, I just also want to add that had it not been for Wormhole willing to work on this with us at this point, there's no way we would have felt comfortable deploying the Dogecoin bridge without the ZKP opcode with anyone else. Wormhole was the only one that like we feel had the sufficient decentralization and security to make this work sort of pre-ZKP opcode and into the future. And also with our proof of useful work blockchain, we really are excited to, like, we see Wormhole as sort of the gateway to the rest of the proof of stake world and the blockchain application world for proof of work. So yeah, that's why we're very excited to work with them.
Yeah. Carter, do you have any thoughts on which chain after this one?
So certainly Bitcoin. So like at least for us, on the contract side, like what the Solana contract actually does is it verifies the entire Dogecoin proof of work. So you can imagine it's like a Dogecoin node that runs in a Solana program. So it's validating all of the stuff. So you can't get anything past it, and it's fully trustless. Now, fortunately, the logic for running a Dogecoin node, for running a Dogecoin, what's called a light client, where it just verifies the security bits, it's almost exactly the same as a Bitcoin node. So actually, within the Solana program that we've open sourced, you can actually just enable a flag, and it becomes a trustless Bitcoin node on Solana as well. So so Bitcoin is definitely the next thing, and we hope to also work with Wormhole in that.
Carter, and what's the rationale behind Bitcoin? Is it just like the intersection between the Bitcoin community and the Doge community is really high? Like, how are you thinking about these chain expansions with your team or with the Doge community per se?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I would say that like the way that we see ourselves within the Solana communities, we want to be the POW evangelists, the people that are sort of pounding the ground saying, life is better when we're together, right? And trying to bring the application world and the proof of work world together, because they have been kind of two isolated bubbles, and that's a shame. Because we share the same values and same goals and same aspirations, that if we work together, we'll have a lot higher likelihood of completing them. Now, from the technical perspective, because as I mentioned, like the meat of this bridge was writing a Doge Lite client, or writing the Doge node software inside of a Solana program, and that code happens to be very similar to the code that's required to run a Bitcoin node or a Bitcoin Lite client. And it's actually similar to the point that we've already implemented the Bitcoin Lite client as well. So the code can be used for Bitcoin very, very simply. And since Wormhole is also going to be supporting Schnorr signatures with their threshold signature scheme, which we're very excited for, it just makes total sense. Just from an operational perspective to do Bitcoin. And of course, Bitcoin is also the world's largest crypto asset class. So, that always helps.
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's so much underutilized idle capital sitting in the UTXO chains, and really there are leaders in some of these communities, like clear leaders like Carter and the team with Dogecoin, and I think their vision really aligns with where that community has its roots based. I truly feel that that's kind of like resonant all around. So it's amazing to be able to back a team like this. And then like you mentioned, it's similarly simple a tweak on our threshold scheme side to support Schnorr signatures, the EDDSA signatures, which Dogecoin doesn't support, but Bitcoin obviously supports. And again, that means we can really extend the collaboration together and be able to bring our security and our distribution and cryptographic ability to what the guys are doing with the proof of useful work and the light clients being able to verify this proof of work on account-based chains, application-based chains, which is really something that can bring a huge unlock for so many people if it's done. I think it's got to be done in the right context and at the right time. And I, really think that this is the right time and the right place to be doing this.
Yeah, and I think Ossie, in terms of like all these builds, people only see the announcement, or in crypto Twitter they see the pre-announcement as well. Can you talk to us about like how long has this been going on? Like how long has our team been engaging with Psy? How long does it actually take to build something like this? Like the use cases are unlimited, and we can probably talk about that next. But talk to me about like how the build is structured, from like a pure technical perspective. How long does it take? What are the implications? What was debated? And then Carter, I'd love to get your take on this as well.
Yeah, I think it varies. It really varies, like from team to team. I think sometimes you get like some, like class S, like goated level interstellar like collaborators, and it can be pretty clear within kind of weeks who fits in that category, and those are the best teams to work with, I think, on our side. And I really say this without with no hesitation. I think Carter and the Psy team are 100% fit in that class. I think within engaging with us within a couple of months, the guys had shared their fully open source end-to-end working Doge-like client and Solana verification program, and ball was in our court at that point to assess the overall architecture and how we thought it would come together. And it lined up perfectly with, on our side, the threshold schemes that we're working on, which are super exciting as well. And those are currently under audit. Those take a full 6-week external audit. Believe it or not, that's how significant the code changes are on our side. And it just means that the timing's right on both teams. Both teams are absolutely cracked. Carter and the Psy team couldn't be better to work with. And I'd say then end to end, the thing looks like like under 3 quarters, like under 8 months, under 7 months, which is huge for such a significant novel feature that's based in such cutting edge cryptography and engineering. So I think that's pretty amazing.
I completely agree. I also just want to add a point, which is that this is a very important moment for the proof of work community, because for as long as we can all remember, the biggest issue with proof of work coins, despite them resisting sort of lots of market forces and always being very strong, is that you can't earn yield on them, and you can't do much with them other than sending it around to other folks. And now, for the first time, there's a verifiably secure way to move those crypto assets outside of those chains and to places where you can earn yield. And really, Wormhole's work with getting the Guardians sort of onboarded to proof of work has opened up like a whole new industry of possibilities for proof of work coins. And obviously, we feel that Solana is most likely the place that is all going to happen. So we're very, very excited. And us as a proof of work chain, of course, are extremely excited to be a part of this as well. And just to give you guys some ideas, you see all these, treasury companies, Bitcoin treasury, potentially some Dogecoin treasuries coming, maybe. But Bitcoin treasury companies with huge amounts of assets that are sitting doing nothing, right? Which could be earning yield. And so this is a massive market opportunity, and it's all been enabled by the work that Wormhole is doing, as well as some of the little things that we've done as well.
And then Carter, just to go back to the original question, like Ossie mentioned, it probably takes 7 or 8 months after you engaged with the Wormhole team. How long has your team been working on this, and what was like the back work that you had to do before engaging with a partner like Wormhole? How long has this been in play for you guys?
Sure. So around the same amount of time. I think we kind of started in parallel. For us, like the main challenge that we wanted to tackle was verifying Dogecoin on Solana. So we want to verify the entire consensus of Dogecoin. So everything that a Dogecoin node would do, but inside a Solana program, which is not as easy as one might think. Frankly, while we love Solana as a platform, it has some limitations on compute time and memory resources that make it impossible to perform a single round of the script hash function, which is used for Dogecoin, for example. And also, there is no Dogecoin Rust library that's like no STD that can just be plopped into a Rust program. So we kind of had to write that from scratch. So we wrote a Dogecoin light client, a full Dogecoin light node or light client implementation in no STD Rust with 0 copy, which just means that like anyone can read the state from any other Solana contract without having to, allocate any memory resources. And then we also had to build a system where we can ensure that, as we know, some chains occasionally will have some forking behavior or a reorg behavior where the canonical latest block changes to something else. And we need to be able to gracefully support that inside of the contract, all while assuring that the only way to get our QDoge or PDoge on Solana would be to deposit your Dogecoin in a wallet that can only be spent by burning the equivalent amount of Dogecoin on Solana, right? So if we can guarantee these two things, then we can make sure that the bridge is secure and that funds can go back and forth without issue. But yeah, so it was a very intense effort. I would say it took like about a month and a half to sort of get that contract off the wall. But then there's also all of the indexers and other sort of components that go into building the bridge and ensuring that, someone's got to call the Solana contract every time. And for the script hash issue, we had to write it in a zero knowledge circuit and then verify zero knowledge proof for the script hash on Solana. So there's a lot of moving parts that went into it. Obviously, like the Wormhole team was also sprinting along with us. So I think that's why we were able to get it done in such record time.
That makes sense. And Ossie, to bump it to you on this question, do you think Wormhole's roots in the Solana ecosystem made it a lot easier for our team to adapt to this kind of build? Like, would this build have been different if it was on an EVM chain, for instance, or a SWI, for instance?
Yeah, potentially. I think maybe it was more, as Carter mentioned, like a cultural. That part of the puzzle was like more cultural than anything, with some peculiarities of Solana as a chain to be worked out. I think if the guys weren't going to Solana first, then it would have been maybe a bit of a different picture. We still would have ended up working together, but it would have been a kind of different picture in the way that we kind of tackled the thing. I think on our side, on the Wormhole side, it doesn't particularly matter, because we're looking at how we interface with Dogecoin from our side, whether it's any Wormhole Guardian supported chain, any account-based chain is interfacing on the Dogecoin side through the threshold scheme. And on the Psy side, the guys are looking at how Dogecoin interfaces with Solana in particular. So I think it's more for the guys in that sense. Like it would have had more impact for the guys choosing Solana. I think it's the best choice. Personally, I totally agree with like all the reasons that the guys had to go with Solana first. It absolutely makes sense on so many levels. And I think the technical peculiarities are like particularly interesting. And I would say that's something that our team had admired, like in particular as well, when we looked over the Doge Lite client and the Doge verification program on Solana as well. I think everyone was extremely impressed. I've got to say with what the guys brought to the table, and how you can verify the script, proof of work hash, and on the Solana side, in this very elegant way. I would say it's a very beautiful piece of engineering, and I think it's worth having a nod to and pointing out, really.
I think there's just to pipe in one thing. I think there's something probably a little bit deeper to the technical limitation on Solana there, because probably one of the reasons why Solana has been able to cultivate such a great meme coin ecosystem is because of how performant it is and how great of a user experience it has. And in some way, probably it was necessary to have those requirements in order to build that ecosystem with that user experience, which eventually led us here. So in a deeper way, it might have been a necessary technical requirement, whatever chain we went to, right?
Yeah.
Carter, does the Dogecoin community have any thoughts on Solana meme coin summer in general? Like, does everyone still believe Dogecoin is the #1 meme coin, or have they been sort of trenching in the Solana trenches as well?
I don't know any Dogecoin maxis. People just like Dogecoin. People aren't in the Dogecoin community, and this is why I love Dogecoin. Is like very few people in the Dogecoin community are like anti stuff. They're more just like they have the things that they like. And frankly, you say like, how does the Dogecoin community see it? I think there's a lot of blending between the two. I think a lot of the people that hold Dogecoin also hold Bonk, for instance, right? People that like dogs, funny looking dogs, I think there was a lot of holders from that. So yeah, like I would say that there is a proof of work component to Doge. Like part of Doge's DNA is that it's its own chain, right? It's not just like a token. It has its own consensus and everything. So I think there's kind of a part of that where those folks maybe are less in tune with the rest of the crypto ecosystem and applications and stuff. But I think this is a great way to bring those two groups together, because again, like there's a ton of fine folks in the Dogecoin community and a ton in the Solana. So yeah, I think it's there's no sort of maximalism or negative. It's just another thing you can do with your Dogecoin, and the more things we can do with our Dogecoin, the better.
I was even thinking back to the days. This is a throwback to when the Cryptopia exchange, RIP, used to have Dogecoin as a base, Doge as a base trading pair. And so, as someone who was mining some Dogecoin at the time, it was very easy for me to come in and just trade just directly into anything I wanted, because there were so many base pairs against Doge. And I think, culture like that, that's deeply like rooted and ingrained. I think this is like a necessary shift and a necessary move for Dogecoin to, really, I think it's got a deep place in the whole crypto ecosystem's hearts, I think. And no one can hate on Dogecoin. Ultimately, it's the no hate, absolutely inclusive vibe, and likewise, then why not bring some upgrades to Dogecoin to make it more widely able to be included in some of the great things going on the account based side. So I think it's like perfect timing and perfect way to do it. Done by the right people.
That sounds amazing. And from a layman's perspective, I would like to understand from both of you, like, how does this bridge help both Doge holders and Solana devs? Like, what all is possible now that this bridge is live, or once it gets live, what all happens?
So maybe I can hop in. First and foremost, for Dogecoin holders, now you can take your Dogecoin, trustlessly bridge it over, and earn yield on your Doge. Use your Doge to buy stuff, right? All of the applications that live in the Solana ecosystem are now accessible to you. So the value add there is very clear, and that's why we did it. For Solana devs, it's also very exciting because as we're verifying Dogecoin and Bitcoin consensus on chain, we're also storing all of the chain hashes in a big Merkle tree of every single Bitcoin blockchain hash in a contract that you can read from any other Solana program, right? So from our Solana program state that holds all of the hashes of every Bitcoin block that are verified can be read from by any contract, which means that you can build any kind of communication layer you want between Solana and Bitcoin, and Solana and Dogecoin. So if you want to bring Doginals over to Solana, like the Doge NFTs, you can go back and forth, trustless data transfers, right? So really, it's more than just a token bridge. That's what we've started up, and I think that's usually the most important thing for connecting to different ecosystems. But it also enables this new creativity layer for people to build new applications that interface between Dogecoin and Solana. So, you can read ordinal inscriptions from Bitcoin and verify them on Solana without having to trust third parties, and the same with Doge. So I think there's a lot of very cool things that people will be able to do. Atomic swaps, of course, too.
Ozzy, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah,
I think we should call this like DogeFi, like DOGE.
DogeFi.
DogeFi.
Yeah, I think DogeFi will be a pretty sick narrative on crypto Twitter. Yeah, Ozzy, are there any use cases that you want to add in?
I think Carter's nailed it. I think I think just the creativity that it enables, and I think the root of it is the root of trust here, and it comes down to zero knowledge cryptography, implemented in in an elegant manner that totally verifiable, and it just works well. So it's it's efficient, it's trustless, and it works well. So I think the possibilities that it opens up are near limitless underneath the top. I think looking at it from maybe a a more idle asset perspective, which is maybe in a way the most boring of use cases, but also maybe the one that will get volume moving with size. I think you can look at it as this is the cleanest, probably hopefully canonical way to be interacting with account-based chains from the Dogecoin ecosystem. And I think that's what people will look at it as. And it's just a vote of confidence ultimately in the underlying tech that the guys have put together, and we're helping to distribute and operationalize. And really, it's just a vote of confidence in the future of Dogecoin as an ecosystem, technically as well, and its ability to move, its ability to adopt the cutting edge where it makes sense. I think Carter and the guys have made a strong push within the Doge ecosystem, and they're really powerful contributors. They're both technically and culturally. So I think that's what it's about. It's about putting your money where your mouth is, and being able to work on both sides, and that's the best way to move.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I know we're close up on time. I probably have just one or two more questions. I think we touched on this part a little earlier in the pod where we talked about other possibilities. I want to ask this question more directly to Carter in terms of the proof of work evangelism that Psy is working towards. Can the same model be used to extend to other proof of work chains? Since we're getting Doge natively on Solana, is there a vision where Bitcoin could natively live on Solana through this type of architecture or other proof of work chains? Or have you thought about that in terms of extending the technology to those sort of assets or chains as well?
Absolutely. Not only have we thought about it, that's the plan. So next on the chopping block is Bitcoin, and then Psy, and then perhaps Litecoin. We're exploring other proof of work blockchains. So yeah, and frankly, I think there's something to be said that this is happening on Solana rather than Ethereum. That probably means something. It was a natural choice for us. It's not that we don't like Ethereum, but it does seem like the sort of center of gravity of the universe has shifted over, and now the proof of work chains were going to link to application chains trustlessly at some point, no matter what. It was inevitable. It happened to be us that sort of pulled the trigger on that, but it was going to happen, and it's very interesting that it's happening and will happen on Solana.
That's super interesting because Carter, one thing that we also notice on the Wormhole side is a lot of devs want to go to Solana, but Solana devs don't really want to go anywhere else. They just want to build on Solana. Ossie, do you have any thoughts on developer sort of sentiment around why this is, why Solana sort of turned into the center place where everyone wants to come to? You obviously talk to a lot of integrators. You talk to a lot of people who want to make this transition. What's the common thing that everyone says?
Yeah, I think it's it comes down to how the blockchain behaves, and as Carter said, it's kind of like a living, breathing thing, an entity in itself, and how people kind of view it and interact with it as a chain. So I think there was probably a strong rush of liquidity at one point coming over, and also just being native Solana based liquidity. Everyone wanted to jump on board, and it was enabled by, again, as Carter mentioned, the chain's performant nature. So people found that it was easy to kind of take it and run with it. It's quite a liquid chain by nature. So for some reason or another, probably for that reason, it's quite easy to take it and run with it. And then it also means that maybe you're kind of stuck within the ecosystem in a way, maybe because of the nature of the kind of nuances and peculiarities of the chain. As an engineer, as a developer, I can't speak to it as much as many people, but I think it's probably easy. It's probably easy, fun. You can, when you work out how to do what you want to do with that chain, it would probably be quite easy and quite fun to keep engineering and working on that chain. And you might view EVM land as a little bit more simple in some ways, So I can see how it would become, a thing that you'd want to keep pursuing, and getting more, getting more of the way down on following the rabbit hole, if you so want to say.
Awesome. Carter, before I ask you the last final question, in this pod we talked about Dogecoin, we talked about Psy, we talked about how Wormhole and Psy are working together, we talked about proof of use will work, we talked about Psy's roadmap in terms of evangelizing for proof of work. I want to put you on the hot seat right now, put you on the spotlight. What's your number one message to the Dogecoin community right now?
For the first time ever, you can start using your Doge on applications. So get ready, get ready to have some fun. And anyone with an idea to build a cool Dogecoin application should do it on Psy and Solana.
Awesome. And that's the show. Thanks for coming on, guys. This has been awesome. We will post this soon. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, guys.